Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Olga, and welcome to my home in upstate New York. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
My name is Olga Naiman. I'm an author, interior designer, and stylist. Welcome to my home. This street drew me to this home. The street is such a beautiful dirt road. It's a historic road. And I fell in love with this street when I was shooting here for Domino magazine as a stylist many, many years ago. And I dragged my partner up here from New York City and I said, you have to take a look at this street. I want to live on this street. And so when this house came up for sale, it was like a tiny little ranch house, like very dinky. And we had this big vision for it. So we just went for it. And little did we know, 10 days after we signed our lease, COVID happened. So we renovated this home during COVID. And we were the architects, the designers, the GCs, we did everything ourselves. It was the first time that I did a project on that level. As a stylist and a designer, I was mostly focused on existing structures and making them like sing, redecorating, rethinking the colors, rethinking the palettes, but I'd never designed a home from the ground up. I really wanted to have a grand entrance at the foyer. I grew up in a little ranch house myself and we never had a foyer. So like that entrance coming into something with a huge high ceiling was so compelling to me. I wanted, after living in tiny, cramped New York City spaces, I wanted space. This home butts up to a state park, and that was so compelling to us because we love to hike. It's only an hour from New York City, but it literally feels like a different world. It's full country, dirt road, and I feel like I'm living in a tree house here in the middle of a forest. Hey, welcome to my entryway. I really designed the whole house around this entryway because I really wanted to come in and really feel a grand entrance, like cross a big threshold from the outside world to the inside world. And every design decision I made is really in service of that. Like this huge gold mirror that I would never have bought for myself 3 years ago. It has a regal quality and this feeling of dignity that I wanted to weave into my life. And these antique, really elegant pedestal vases, they're German from the 19th century. And so I started a little collection of them. But this actually is an important corner because this corner was the old house. So everything we built on this side was newly built by us. And then this was the corner, the outside corner of the old house. And the old house is all the way along that wall and in this direction. So it was really an amalgam of how do we add this addition onto a house and still have the house retain its original 1970s kind of vibe. And I really thought of that in the design, how to pay homage to one of my favorite design decades, the 1970s. This David Weeks lamp, I got at a sample sale, and I got it like 10 years ago, and it was like the most extravagant thing I owned. I love the juxtaposition between it and the gold mirror. These sconces I just got actually from Etsy. They were inexpensive, and they have this like 1980s quality to them, which also juxtaposes the mirror and has like a circular moon theme, which I repeated in the lamp above and in the art here. So I love to repeat themes. It's my thing. The circular theme is echoed throughout the house. Because modernity tends to be very square, very rectilinear, very pointy. So everything I do as a designer is to really soften that and really create an atmosphere of like tactility and softness and soothing the nervous system with these circles, with these flowy lines. For me, my home is my sacred space. So when I walk into a sacred space, it's like high ceilings always announce that feeling of sacred space. So I really wanted to give myself that feeling on the daily, which is one of the reasons I designed this high ceiling, and it's always a showstopper when people walk in. I recently put this curtain on, and it was a very powerful act. Actually, Feng Shui talks about not having a lot of glass in your foyer, but I really loved this glass door. And the way that I counteract that is put the softness of this curtain down. And this is one of the ways that I soften this really harsh modern entrance, but that has the plus of having a lot of light. And then I would love to talk about my textiles. I'm a textile fanatic, and these beautiful textiles are actually from one of my favorite companies, Schumacher, that I often style for and have a relationship with. And they really add some interesting texture and juxtaposition to the Asian-inspired rug that I bought years ago for like $100 on eBay. Everything in here, basically, other than these two fabric pieces and the lamp, is vintage. I love scouring flea markets, going to auctions. Like a lot of the stuff was bought on auction, and I'm obsessed with liveauctioneers.com. And Cherish and Etsy, and I'm constantly looking for vintage stuff, which I feel has a soul that modernity doesn't always have. One of my favorite tricks to soften a modern window is to put a plant on a pedestal and have the edge be softened by something green. That's like a theme that I repeat all throughout the house, and it really helped me soften these like hard lines of the architecture. So this is one of the unfinished parts of the house. It is a staircase that is going to be glorious when it's done. I also designed this one piece of steel to have a curve here. So again, the softness theme repeats and repeats, but this is going to be all filled in with sheetrock, and we're going to have really awesome oak treads. So that's going to happen in about 6 to 8 months. Welcome to my favorite room of the house. This is the living room, and I designed this one from scratch. I had the soaring ceiling vision, and I wanted the ceilings to be just tall enough to allow my favorite tree, which I've had for over 20 years, to thrive. I wanted to create two intimate spaces rather than one grand space, a space that people can have conversation in and feel connected. So I broke the room up into halves with this console and really accentuated the height of the ceiling using this overscale art. This sofa I got on Auction Ninja for $300, super proud of that. And a rug was left over from a client that didn't want it. So the rug really also informed this area. I chose to not have a coffee table because I really need to ground on the rug. Like I actually spend a lot of time sitting on the floor and lying on my back and gazing up at the tree. And that's such a huge part of the way that I decompress after a long and stressful day. It's like right here and in there. So this room is a sanctuary for me. I designed this half of the room to be like the musical media room. So what's going to happen here are bookshelves. We're going to do built-in bookshelves in the next year. And for now, I've styled the books like in cute stacks to kind of do a like stopgap for while we're doing the renovation. This record player was in my parents' basement when I was growing up. And it's really one of the only things that I have from my childhood home. And it serves a very special meaning for me. And I really took this idea of music and brought in instruments that my partner plays and other antique instruments that I found like in my travels, in my flea marketing. And I wanted this room to have a very like literary and musical feel. Like I see it as a winter room where we get cozy in front of the TV and listen to records and read books and just connect to each other without like our phones. This is my dream for this room. Every piece of art here has a lot of symbolic meaning to me, and the way that I arranged it is based on that. So the triangle, which is the sconce that I found in the circle, is a sacred geometry symbol that you see across cultures. And, you know, the angel is high up above, and that's, you know, we know that from Christian, Jewish iconography. And this was painted by my best friend's stepfather, and I loved his art. He was one of the first artists that I fell in love with his work, like in 1989 or so, when I was in high school and college with my friend. So this piece was painted by a dear friend of mine, Miranda Lloyd, and it really, like I see it as the dissolving of the self. And then there's the sky iconography, and then the skeleton, which is a piece by a friend that lives in Guadalajara, Mexico. And so these are gifts. This is a piece I bought in Mexico City, and this is by a beautiful artist named Tom Borghese, who I worked with at Domino magazine. And he was a stylist and a florist and an artist. And I love having my friends' work on my walls. This is another piece by Stan Gaz, who's a friend, and there's a piece that I found in a gallery, and I flipped it. It's supposed to be straight, but I really wanted to break that square kind of geometry, and I love the relationship between this and the triangle on the other side. I love David Weeks' lighting. He's such an artist, and this is another one of his lamps that I got at a sample sale. And these are CB2 lamps. And I love the texture, I love the rumpled shade, and this is one of my favorite lamps that they've ever done. Some 1970s vintage sofa, and then a chair that I got at the sale from one of my friend's prop houses. She was selling all her props, or not all of them. She was selling some of her props. I love these fuzzy chairs because they give the somatic sensation of like petting an animal. And when I am dysregulated or just feeling exhausted, I come here and like touch it and soothe my nervous system. And it's one of my favorite places to sit because I get to see the whole entire room. I have a special fondness for corners. Corners is such like a nesting area because of the way the walls go. So I really love the idea of like sitting in corners and reading from this bookshelf when the bookshelf gets built. This corner daybed is just such a sanctuary for me. I sit here and I get the view of the trees and the view of the house at the same time. And then I have the trees outside and then the tree that's next to me. And it really makes me feel like I'm like resting or somewhere on vacation. It gives me that vacation feeling, which I love at the end of the day, especially when I am exhausted. So this is our games table. And we come here for brunches and to play games and to do puzzles. I have two 11-year-old twins, and we have a lot of Monopoly nights at this table. So I really wanted to emphasize play and togetherness and connectedness, and rising up the stairs towards that intention is very, very dear to my heart. And this piece of art is really special to me. I bought this for $300 at auction, and I love a good deal. And I also am really drawn to the scale of it and the symbolism of it. It is a parachute, and sometimes I feel like my life is in free fall. So having that feeling of like there is a parachute, even when it feels like there isn't, is a very powerful symbol for me to keep reminding myself of. I love color, I love texture, and I love to play with symbolism in the home. So for me, like, the style is the beauty part, but I really love to touch the psychological and manifestational elements when I'm designing. So I actually lead with that. What do I want to bring into form, and what kind of style would serve that intention? So for me, the intention comes first, what I want to materialize in my life, and then the style and the design serve that intention. So it's really about creating a space that allows my body to have a direct experience of an energy that I might not have in my life, or that I struggle with in my life, like groundedness. So the style comes from that intention. Like, I designed it to be a very grounded space because that's what our family needed. Welcome to my kitchen. This is a really open and airy space, and I really love how the window is in the center of it and allows for a view of the forest from like every angle of the kitchen. I really love the juxtaposition of the marble and the wood. And this bar, which allows us to eat face to face as a family, was custom designed by a local artist named Matthew Palmer. And I love how he designed these rounded legs on the end of the bar and left an opening so that the kitchen is airy from this angle. We found these cabinets through a company called Cabinet Joint, and I love how they have this really modern, sleek look. And I emphasized that with these handles, but really warmed the kitchen up with vintage accessories, all vintage lighting, and just kind of a quirky, offhand feeling that I really love. I had a friend of mine who's a ceramicist, Anthony George, craft this beautiful sconce. And that really became the centerpiece of this wall, which I love repeating these round shapes and really contradicting the seriousness of the kitchen with some playfulness. And that's the energy, like the energy of playfulness, that I really want to bring into my life very much and into the lives of our family, especially after this like really hard renovation. And this makes me super happy. You touch it, and it opens. And I've never had a refrigerator like this. It's like a totally fun gadget for me. And we have a double oven and a warming drawer. So these are really sweet pieces. And then these cabinets form the pantry. One of the reasons I chose a lot of greens in the pieces, the accessories, is to really bring out that green and orange. So that really informed my choice of accessories, the green and orange color in the stone, which I love bringing out. And here's a little altar to my dad, my late father, who I have an altar in every room of the house, basically. And sometimes they're secular altars, sometimes they're spiritual, and this is like an ancestral altar to my dad. And then like different relatives go in and out of here. And this is our little cookbook coffee area. The wood that we kept going back to again and again in the design of our house is walnut because of the warmth of it. And that really also softened the sharpness and the modernity of the huge windows, which I love. We had them shipped over from Poland. And it's really like standing here and seeing the forest, which goes on for miles and miles, is just incredible. And I have a special relationship with all the trees. So tree is such a big theme, and because we live in the forest, that theme is repeated. So in the winters, one of the reasons I kept this open, because we transition into the fireplace and into this very open space where we can see one another while cooking, while reading, while sitting by the fire. And I'm really excited about my big plans for the fireplace. This is one of those projects that we haven't finished yet, but I have these incredible tiles from Clay Tile. And I'm going to do some cool thing with all the triangles and the diamonds in here with these terracotta tones, which also serve my purpose for creating more grounding and stability. Anything that's earthy, anything that's terracotta, or any of those warm walnuts, they provide stability. So my goal in life is always more stability and more rootedness. There are very few like skinny, spindly legs in the design. Oftentimes, when we want more grounding in our lives, we want to start looking at like thick legs and sturdiness, like in our furniture. And I really designed this for that. There's like a groundedness in the colors. This room is a brighter room than the other living room. And I wanted this room to have a little bit more fire energy because we cook here, and I didn't want us to fall asleep in this room. I wanted us to be awake in this room and connecting with one another. So I really played with turquoise as a sharp accent color, and then brought in the rusty oranges and the reds that you see in other parts of the house. But this is really the first space in the house that has these brighter tones of reds as well as turquoises and pinks. One thing as a former stylist that I love to do is styling coffee tables. And one of the things I do when I have a big glass coffee table that I wanted to take up space but also be airy is I start color blocking the books on the coffee table to be an echo of the art that's on the walls. And that's how you start to create cohesion in a space. You start to repeat the colors in other parts of the room, creating visual triangles. So this table I actually had for like about 25 years. I bought it at Crate and Barrel years ago, and it served as my desk, and then it served different functions in different homes. So one of the cornerstones of my design philosophy is repurposing as much as you can. I'm not one of those people that believes when you move into a new house, you have to get everything absolutely new. So this table was something that I repurposed from like, I've had it for like 25 years and it served so many different functions. And what I did by choosing a chandelier that was a super bright neon yellow is I brought in like something new and something old from my past. And the chandelier really brings out the green in the art, and then it forms a triangle with the yellow in the other room. So like the chartreuse is also a theme that weaves through this whole family room space. That's the accent color. So you see it in the chandelier, the art, and like the lampshade behind you. As someone who was born in Ukraine, I always start a dinner party with soup and oftentimes borscht. So this is my frequent dinner setting when I invite people to my home. I love the turquoise napkins that pick up on the turquoise in the other room. And this is a set that was given to me by a dear friend of mine. The gold place settings I bought on Etsy, they're made in Thailand. And yeah, the wine glasses are also like from like a lot of flea market shopping. One of the ways I united these three rooms was through color. So the chartreuse and the turquoise are a theme that get repeated throughout the dining room and the family room, and also into the kitchen where it kind of turns into the oranges and greens of that room. I really love color. I'm a big color person, and I don't believe color has to be overpowering. So I really weave the colors together, but play with tones and brightnesses to either increase the fire energy, or which upregulates, kind of creates activity in the system, or decrease it by creating more grounding soft spaces with deeper colors, and that downregulates the nervous system. So I really base my color choices on the activities that I want that room to invite. These pieces are by artist Mitch Pastor, and this is by a local artist that I know named Susan English. And one of the things I wanted to accentuate here is this feeling of an open portal. For me, portals are very symbolic. And this piece is on the cover of my book. This is the room that's on the cover of my book, and I changed it around a little since we photographed it. But I love this idea of a portal, a doorway, and how we work with portals, thresholds, and doorways in our consciousness and in our lives. So that is a key element of this room. And this piece I really love because it was made in France in the 1800s. And I love the carvings and the little cupids and angels in it, which have a very kind of divine and playful quality. I designed this bathroom as an homage to the old house, which was built in 1973. I designed this bathroom to be the epitome of grounding energy. So it has a slinky, sexy 1970s vibe, and it also has a really warm, grounded vibe because of all the terracotta tiles. When you want to have more grounding in your life, work with the earth element. Terracotta is a prime example of that. And then there's the warm wood, and it has this kind of vessel quality. It has like a beautiful kind of almost sacred quality, the sink, I find. And I brought a lot of Buddhas in here and candles, and at night it really has this sexy Manhattan vibe that I really miss from my days living there. I love the African stool here that I bought that gives a different note to the space, and I found it on auction. And this was the master bathroom, actually, of the old house. So there was a bathtub, like a 1970s bathtub, and we decided to just remove it and create a shower for when we have extra guests in the house. I've loved design since I was in the 6th grade. My big dream when I finished college was to work in magazines. I had been looking at design magazines and devouring them for years. And I was lucky enough to get a job as an assistant at House Beautiful magazine. And I worked there for about 5 or 6 years. And then I ended up being an editor. So I went from an assistant to an associate editor to an editor. And it was a really amazing trajectory. I met incredible people that then really became a part of my career later on. Then I went to London. After having worked at House Beautiful, I decided I wanted to work in theater. And I wanted to really touch the psychological layers of the home because that's what I was missing. The beauty of design, like in the magazines, was incredible, but I wanted to go and touch the deeper layers. So I went to London to study there. And then when I came back, I became a freelance stylist and also designing sets for theater. I styled for Domino magazine. I was one of the main stylists in the OG Domino magazine back in the aughties. And then really started a really full styling career for people like brands like West Elm and CB2 and Target and IKEA and Disney and editorial from Real Simple to Elle Decor to House Beautiful to Elle Magazine and Architectural Digest. So I've really had the range in terms of styling. And I also had kind of my spiritual practice on the other side of it. And so when COVID hit and I started to do more and more interior design, I really brought that psychological and spiritual practice into play. And that's really what creates my philosophy. My design philosophy is always about how to bring the client to the space that they want to be in their lives as a holistic practice. So it's really about alchemy, which is the art of transformation. And oftentimes I ask my clients, where are they stuck in their lives? Where are they frustrated in their lives? And I show them how they design those laments into their home. And we really go through a deep psychological process before we even touch the design. And then when we are ready, we begin to start weaving what they want in their lives into their homes. So for example, if they want partnership, we design the home as if the partner was already there. If they want to feel a sense of motivation, they kind of feel a little stagnant in their lives, we begin to design the home and design that motivation, activation, fire energy into the home. So that, or at least into the more active elements of the home. where they want that. So we begin to work with focal points, we begin to work with symbols, we begin to start seeing how they can take what they already own and upgrade it and start bringing in bridge pieces to create an integrated look. So it's really about how your manifestation and your design begin to work together. And it's based on the same principle as dress for the job you want, not only for the job you have. So we start designing the home for the life that they want. Here's my kids' bathroom, and I wanted this bathroom to be grounded and playful at the same time. I chose the terrazzo tiles because they had a color palette that really connected it to the rest of the house. Those kind of terracottas, the greens, like a slight yellow to it. This vanity is from Kohler, as well as the faucets, and the tiles are from tile.com. And I accessorized, as I always do, with like a lot of vintage accessories and pottery that my kids made so that they can feel a sense of themselves in this bathroom. And they're into chess, so I bought this horse that's a chess piece. I chose this really fun yellow ceiling color by Little Green Paint because I wanted to bring a happiness into the bathroom. It's a bathroom that has a very small window in it. So the bright sunny ceiling adds this openness. When we moved into this house in 2024, after 4 years of renovating and building it during COVID, we were like tattered as a family. We'd been moving over and over again. This renovation cost way more than we ever anticipated. So when it came time to create the design, I created it to help our family ground and relax and connect with one another. I chose really thick pile textured rugs so that we can lie on the floor and literally ground and play games on the floor and hang out on the floor under the shade of this huge and incredible tree. I designed like soft little nooks and corners like the one that I'm sitting in now for like emotional regulation. For example, when I come home after a really stressful day, this is the first place I'll sit because it's like I'm like back into a corner, and it really connects me to my body after I've been in my head all day and racing ahead of myself. So all of these spaces are designed to really ground the nervous system and relax the somatics. So that was the leading factor in the design, how to really use the furniture and the soft spaces to connect to oneself. Because I was trained as an editor and as a stylist, I could really design and style in any style. So I have clients where I'm designing all white interiors. I have clients where I'm designing traditional interiors. I have clients where I'm designing way more streamlined interiors or like Asian inspired interiors. I am lucky enough to have received that training. So for this house, I really went with playing with symbolism first. When I looked at the art and the colors, that's what really drove my design in terms of how the colors weave together in the room. Specific rooms are very activating and other rooms are very grounding, and each room has its own color scheme, although there's a weave of like deep reds throughout the house and like rusty oranges and yellows that connect each room, but each room has its own flavor. A year ago, I wrote a book, and it's called Spatial Alchemy, and it's about the intersection of your home and your manifestation, about the cause and effect relationship between your home and your life. And it really takes you through a step-by-step process. It shows you how to spot outdated identities in your home, unwanted patterns in your home, and begin to dissolve those. So this goes deeper than decluttering. It's about how to dissolve unwanted patterns in your home and recode your home with patterns that you do want. So it's a simple 5-step process, and I love seeing people get incredible results from it in their lives, and they begin to see the house and life connection, and that is what sparks my joy. this room, I call it a room because it really feels like an extension of my living room. And this piece of art is something that I made, and it hung on the inside of my home. And I really loved the thought of putting it on this wall. And it was the first thing that really inspired this to be like an outdoor living room. We cantilevered a piece of raw walnut on the side of the house. And when you step back and you see the connection of the window, the cantilevered piece, the art, and the balcony over there, it becomes like a piece of art in and of itself. That's how I see it. And I picked those red pops of color intentionally to bring a little bit of fire energy over here. This deck is incredible. It's actually, believe it or not, like made from 100% basically recycled material. And I chose it because it's just really sustainable and eco-friendly, and I really love the idea of that. It brings in that walnut color into the coolness of the stark forms of the house. For me, home is so many things, but first and foremost, it's a space of magic. I love beginning to play with my home as an alchemist would and coding the home for specific things and seeing them occur in my life. That brings me like the greatest joy. But then close second is like a place of connection for my family, a retreat, a place of invitation, a place of welcome, a place where the center of my being lives. It's everything for me, home.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.